Venezuela is spiraling into an economic and political crisis. But things just took a turn for the worse. The president's latest moves could threaten Venezuela's 60-year-old democracy. Recently, President Nicolas Maduro arrested the country's two most prominent opposition leaders and established a new governing body made up entirely of his supporters. That Constituent Assembly has the power to rewrite the Constitution and has already fired the country's Attorney General, an outspoken critic of Maduro. The new assembly is seen as a major threat to the country's democracy.
They're basically going to be able to do whatever they want in terms of power. This is why the government wants it. It wants to use this Constituent Assembly to basically dispossess the opposition and rewrite the rules so that it can perpetuate itself.
The political conflict has been building for years. Back in 2015, Venezuela entered an economic meltdown. Oil prices had collapsed, and in the middle of all that, Maduro's Socialist Party lost control of the country's National Assembly. That defeat brought on a political standoff, with Maduro refusing to work with the opposition. He stacked the Supreme Court with his allies, and earlier this year, he tried to use the top court to take away all powers of the assembly. That sparked a huge outcry and months of political protests, some of them violent, leaving more than 100 people dead. Meanwhile, daily life has been getting harder for Venezuelans. Crime is up, inflation has skyrocketed, and food and medicine are getting increasingly difficult to find and afford. In fact, food is now so expensive, almost 3/4 of Venezuelans have lost weight in the last year. The country also faces record levels of child malnutrition and a severe spike in child mortality.
People don't have enough to eat. People who are even middle class are barely able to afford to feed themselves anymore. So you drive around in some of the poorer sections of town and you see these crazy lineups that can start at like 4 or 5 in the morning where people are trying to get some bread or whatever at an affordable cost.
As well as fighting for the basics, many Venezuelans now feel like they're fighting to hang on to their democracy.
This is a country in the region. It's a democracy that's been a democracy for 60 years, and there's 30 million people that are basically being subjected to the will of a government that's not popular and is trying to keep its power any way it can. It's a violation of human rights. Human rights are universal, and that should be important for all people.